Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars and welcome to another top 10 list. I haven't done one of these for a few weeks, and the top 10 list that I am focusing on today is my favourite top 10 Dolph Lundgren films. The giant Swede who made his name initially in the 80s, first as an extra in James Bond film, then as the boyfriend of Grace Jones, and then he made it big when he was Ivan Drago in Rocky IV, and from that moment on he's never really looked back in regards to his film career. He's made a lot of fairly iconic action films over the years. He's consistently worked. Now, even though I don't pretend to have a huge amount of knowledge of some of his direct-to-DVD films over the last 10 or 15 years, looking through his filmography, there's an awful lot of films that I've watched of his and enjoyed, and hopefully there'll be a couple on this list that maybe you haven't seen that you will certainly need to check out, because he has made some really good hidden gems. So we shall start the list. Coming in at number 10, it has to make the list, is Masters of the Universe. It's gathered a bit of a cult following over the years. It was released in 1987. I went to the cinema to see this at the time. So I was about 14, something like that, when this came out in the cinema. I actually quite liked it at the cinema. It was pretty nicely done. Dolph Lundgren does a pretty decent job here. You can see he's a little bit green still in the acting department here, but his physicality carries the role through, and it's a pretty cheesy, certainly entertaining B-movie type big screen movie. They keep threatening to do another Masters of the Universe film. Let's wait and see if that ever happens. Coming in at number 9, Creed 2. Now, I've put this on the list. I know Dolph Lundgren isn't the main star here, but I really absolutely loved this film. It was my second favourite film of that year when it came out, and I thought the idea of putting Ivan Drago and his son back in this film was just inspired, and Dolph Lundgren really delivered on his performance here as Ivan Drago, as this really bitter guy who has never got over his loss to Rocky Balboa and has been treated terribly by his country, and he really carried that through. I thought it was a really good performance by Dolph Lundgren in a really fantastic film, so that's why it's made my list. Coming in at number 8 is Red Scorpion. This was released in 1980. I seem to remember there was quite a bit of hype about this film before it was released. It was almost Dolph Lundgren's version of Rambo, I suppose. It's quite similar in many ways to Rambo 3, where Dolph Lundgren plays this Russian Spetsnaz soldier, highly trained, who goes to Africa and basically turns on his masters and decides to help the people there against the Russian invasion. It's really a well-made film. Dolph Lundgren is physically fantastic, and it's loads of action. Now, coming in at number 7, the 1990 film Dark Angel, also known as I Come in Peace. This is a good film. It's like a sci-fi action film where this alien comes to Earth, who essentially is like a drug dealer. Really, he's like peddling these alien drugs. And Dolph Lundgren plays like a police detective on the trail of this otherworldly drug dealer, I suppose. And I think what makes this film good is it's got a decent sense of humour. It's a good idea. There's some good action, but Dolph Lundgren doesn't play like the muscle-bound guy here. He plays like, just a normal police detective, and it's a nicely put together film if you've never seen it. Coming in at number 6, one of these Expendables films had to make the list, and my decision was Expendables 2. And the reason why I think this is Dolph Lundgren's best Expendables film is because he's given the most to do in this film. They actually give him a little bit more of a personality in this one, and he's one of the highlights of this film. And it's also my favourite Expendables film. I enjoy all the Expendables film, and I have reviewed them all on the channel. This one's my favourite. I think it's got the best action. They give the characters more to do, and they definitely gave Dolph Lundgren's character more to do and made him really quite fun and interesting and quite quirky at times as well. So that's why this one made the list. Coming in at number 5, Universal Soldier. This is the film where Dolph Lundgren plays the antagonist, the bad guy, against Jean-Claude Van Damme's Luc Besson, not the good guy. I think I call him Luc Besson then, I can't remember his name. But it's a really good film, and once again Dolph Lundgren, I think, is the highlight of this film. He plays the bad guy here. He chews up all the scenery that he's in. He's way over the top, and he clearly had an absolute ball playing this film. I'm not a big fan of the ending of this film. I never have been. I thought Van Damme could have found a better way to beat Lundgren's character, but I really enjoy this film overall. Coming in at number 4, it has to make the list. Rocky IV. It's the film that made his name. Ivan Drago is arguably one of the best screen villains of all time, and this was the first Rocky film that I actually saw. I went to the cinema to see this with my dad, and I'd never experienced a Rocky film before going to see this at the cinema, so this was my first exposure to the world of Rocky. Can you imagine, as a young teenager watching this film at the cinema? It blew my mind. Huge fan of Rocky from that moment on, and Ivan Drago still sticks in my mind as probably the best and baddest boxer that Rocky ever faced. Coming in at number 3, I'm putting The Punisher here. I think this film is criminally underrated. It has been for many years. They keep trying to reboot and remake The Punisher with varying degrees of success, and many people wrongly consider this one to be the worst. It definitely isn't. You need to check it out if you've never seen it. I suspect those that say this is the worst have never seen it. It's actually a really good film. It's nicely put together, and I think Dolph Lundgren's performance here is really quite impressive. He tries really hard. He's got his hair darkened and he looks completely different. He lost weight for the role, but there's some really good action sequences in this film. Coming in at number 2, this little gem, Showdown in Little Tokyo. I remember owning this on VHS and then DVD and just watching it to death. This one, I just loved it. I thought the action was really over the top and cheesy. I thought the chemistry between Brandon Lee and Dolph Lundgren was magic. They were brilliant together, and this was the first film where I realised that Dolph Lundgren was actually a martial artist. I didn't realise up until watching this film. So the martial arts is on point in this film, the action's on point. Yes, it makes no sense and it's completely over the top, but it's a 90s action film that belongs in the 80s. It's brilliant. Now I'm putting at number 1 this little gem called Men of War. I personally think this is Dolph Lundgren's best film, and if you've never seen it, I strongly recommend it. Basically, Dolph Lundgren plays a mercenary, and there's a group of mercenaries, and they have to go to this remote island to try and convince the locals to leave it because there's a big corporation wanting that island for its resources, and they refuse. Dolph Lundgren's men are supposed to basically wipe them out if they refuse, and he has a change of heart and he decides to defend this island against this big corporation. And it's a it's a great story, and there's some fantastic action in it, and I absolutely love this film, and I have no qualms making it my number 1. So there you go. That is my top 10 favourite Dolph Lundgren films. Now, the number 1 choice may surprise some people, but I don't think it would if you've ever seen the film Men of War, and I'm actually going to rewatch it and do a classic film review for the channel. So I definitely suggest you check out Men of War if you haven't seen it. I don't think enough people have. I think it's an absolute hidden classic. So yeah, Dolph Lundgren, some great movies. There could have been some of these direct-to-DVD ones that he's made over the years, of certainly over the last decade or so, that could have made this list. I haven't seen an awful lot of them, and the ones I have seen haven't been overly impressive, unfortunately. But he's made some great movies. He's still going strong today. He's still making movies, doing some good stuff. Obviously, he appeared in Aquaman and stuff like that, so he pops up in the occasional cinema release as well. But a really decent action star over the years, and I did enjoy researching and looking into this list to make my top 10 favourite Dolph Lundgren films. So thanks for watching, everybody. If you've got any more suggestions for top 10 lists, I'm thinking about doing my top 10 favourite superhero film next. That's going to be a difficult one and an interesting one to try and put together, but I will try and see if I can get that out in the next couple of weeks. So thanks for watching, everybody. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and I will be back with more content very, very soon.